All right. What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about DoorDash. More specifically, my experience with DoorDash, how I got into DoorDash, why I got into it, I guess, and when I DoorDash, how long I do it for. I'll go over my earnings and then I'll talk about like the tips versus DoorDash pay just in general. And then lastly, I'll just touch on like locations, on where I would go, and also what car I drove and how I decided to accept each order. So I'll start off just by explaining why I got into DoorDash. So I am one of the few thankful individuals that I have a good paying job, but I decided I'm always like wanting to chase the money, you know? So the more money comes in, the better. I save up, I rank up my Roth IRA, I max everything out. So the more money I have, the better. So for me, that's a big inspiration. Plus, I'm currently out in Pennsylvania. I don't really have much people out here right at the moment. My fiance is back in California, so I just moved here around like in May. I want to say, no, sorry, today's May. I moved in January, and then I've had a lot of free time in my hands, which is probably a good thing, you know, or I guess not a good thing. So, the I decided with all the free time that I had, why not just do DoorDash, you know, earn extra money for a couple of hours. All right, let's talk about how I got into DoorDash. Essentially, it was an easy-ish process. When I signed up online, it kind of gave me a kind of week worth of time to wait. I submitted all my documents, my ID, told them which car I was driving, and then I just had to wait a week. There was a bit of an issue with the website at the moment. I don't really know what's going on, so I had given up at that point after signing up. But one a Saturday afternoon, I got like an email saying like, "Hey, you've been accepted." So I went ahead and signed up, called it good. I actually didn't even do anything for like the first 2 weeks that I was a DoorDash driver because I was kind of scared to go out there and like I didn't know what to do. I think I was afraid of like, what if I had too many drinks and I couldn't hold them? That was a big panic. But thankfully, I to this day I haven't gotten an order that was more than like 3 drinks, which is totally doable. And the restaurants will give you like the cup holders for them, so it's fine. Let's talk about when I DoorDash, I guess. So I have a 9 to 5, like I mentioned. So I really have to abide by that schedule before I DoorDash. Usually it's a very strict 9 to 5 most of the times. So it doesn't really cut into my DoorDash time. What I do is I get off around like 4 or 5 p.m. Right after work, I come home, I eat my meal. I meal prep my meals, so that's really helps me with saving some time in cooking and all that. So it takes me around like 30 minutes. So by like 5 p.m., 5:30, I'm on the road and looking for orders. And thankfully, I stay around my area, so I get a lot of orders during my area. So that kind of helps. But I usually DoorDash if I don't have anything going on from 5 to like 10 p.m. If I really am not feeling that great that day, I DoorDash from like 5 to 7, around 2 to 3 hours. But most of the times I'm having like, if I'm having like a really good run, when I'm getting like $120 or I'm nearing 150, I just stick through it. And sometimes I DoorDash at like midnight, which kind of helps me a lot. Which kind of jumps into my next topic, which I kind of jumped the gun on. But so I wanted to talk about how long I DoorDash. So on the weekdays when I DoorDash, I usually do around, like I mentioned, 2 to 5 hours. If it's a real good run, I do, like I mentioned, like 5 to 7 hours. On the weekends, though, I tend to kind of fluctuate because I've noticed that if I start early during the day, I earn the same amount of money if I started at around noon. And I think it's that lunchtime rush that really helps me out, kind of balance each other. I want to say like 4 out of 5 times that I've done this, it kind of works out for it to be like if I start around noon and I DoorDash all the way to like midnight, so 12 hours straight. I do take a break in between just to take like get some food or whatever. I take myself like a little sandwich and like a water. And if I do need to go to the restroom, sometimes they're the restaurants themselves. I just go in there before I grab the food. So that kind of gives me like a little bathroom break in between, which is awesome. It gets me on the road faster. All right, let's go over my earnings so far. So This is my earnings in general for, it says past week, but it's been a minute since I've DoorDashed. So I guess I started in February 20th. I made $636 with 16 cents. Then the week after that, I made $171. Then after that week, I made 152 and then 337. So you'll see there's kind of like a little roller coaster thing going on there. So we'll go more into each one of them. So let's start off with March 20th to the 26th. So let's break this down real quick. So active hour, active time, and then DoorDash time. Active time just means the amount of time that I was actually completing an order. And then the dash time is how much time I stayed active in the app. I did a total of 37 deliveries for that week. You'll see up here DoorDash Pay and customer tip. It's kind of interesting to see that the customer tip makes up most of your income. So if I had received no tips at all for that whole week, I would make $110.75. It really speaks volumes to like how much tipping is like embedded in our like society. But I mean, I'm here for it for the moment. So I'm also not a big like tipping person when it comes down to like, oh, like should I get tipped or not? You know, I'm signing up because I know what I'm getting myself into. But anyways, that'll be a separate video. My dashes for this this time frame. So I did, you'll see on Tuesday, they kind of broke down because I kind of gave up that time. And then while driving home, I usually get like a last spurt of like hope. So I reactivate my active time, whatever. So that Tuesday after work, I made $95.75. And then on Wednesday, I made a little less, which is okay. I aimed, usually on weekdays, I aimed for like $75, but $50 is not bad. On Thursdays, on that Thursday, I made 103 with 75 cents, which is a really good one too, because I guess towards the weekend, people tend to buy more food out. I don't know why, but I've seen that being a trend. And on that Saturday, I made $79.25. I think this was kind of like a, I'm done with this, you know, like I got a little tired of it. So that's why I kind of stopped. March 13th through the 19th. I made $152.67 that week. So you'll see active time, 4 hours and 43, so about an hour difference. Made 19 deliveries, and again, customer tip outweighed my DoorDash Pay big time. So that's interesting to see. I think you'll see that through all my earnings for all the weeks. And again, that Friday, I kind of went through it. I stopped and I went, I stopped and I went. I was really indecisive whether I kept going. It was a really tough week, so I didn't want to do anything. And then that Saturday, you'll see that I just called it good too. I wasn't feeling into it. So usually if I do like $56 to like $52 for the week, or like 120, it kind of pays for the gas for my car for the whole week, or like for going back to and from work. So that's kind of nice to not have to think about that, because I put in those extra 2 to 3 hours every day, and it kind of doesn't impact my cost anymore. So yeah, so let's look at that February 27th, March 5th, $171.37. This was kind of an interesting week because I only DoorDash for like a few days, so a couple days of the week. But out of those days, I kind of did okay. So I did a total about like $72 here, 75, and then another $80 on Tuesday. Again, customer tips are higher than our DoorDash Pay. Really speaks volumes to that. So, and then my deliveries, they are 21 deliveries for the week. So I did around like 10.5 average for each day that I DoorDashed. And then lastly, let's look at this $636.16. This was over a weekend. So this was really interesting because it actually plays a role into how I got into DoorDash, or I guess why I got into DoorDash, which I didn't talk about. But essentially, you'll notice here at the bottom that it says challenge 100 200s. They're having a challenge where if you were new to DoorDash, I guess, or for me it was new. If I was new to DoorDash and I completed 10 deliveries, they'd give me $100. So I get to keep the DoorDash Pay and the customer tip plus the challenge money at the end. And then they were also doing a complete 20 deliveries and get $200. When I was doing this, in my thinking, I was like, oh, well, I'm just going to get 200 in total because I'm doing 10 and 20. So they're probably doing like 100 and 100. But no, I noticed that it was 100 for 10 and then 200 more for 20, which was amazing. You should have seen it. Like everybody was on DoorDash. Like every driver was on DoorDash out there. I met so many people at, was it Subway, KFC, Taco Bell. Everybody was taking low orders or short orders because you get them done quicker. So it kind of like you're earning money, but you're at the end you'll end up earning the challenge money on top. So again, you'll see Saturday I really pulled through and I did a bunch. I think I did almost $200 worth on Saturday, and then on Sunday, $143.54. And I got a little tired, so I just wanted to do my 150 or get close to my 150, call it good. That was a really good week for me, and I don't think I've gotten a week like that or gotten any promotions or challenges like that from DoorDash in a minute. I don't know what stopped it, but in all honesty, they should do that again because a lot of people were out there taking low amount orders, which I know is a tough thing for DoorDash nowadays because the service might go downhill if somebody's not tipping, or they can choose not to pick a tip or pick an order. So that's my 2 cents. So let's talk about the tips for right now. So I noticed that in the lower income areas of where I'm at Pittsburgh, PA, by the way. The lower income areas where I delivered food, it wouldn't matter what the final amount was. I always got consistent good tips. And I don't know what it was. And I was talking to my fiance about this, but I don't know. And then the more like, I guess, wealthy areas where I delivered food, the less tips I got. Sometimes I picked up orders that had like no tips just because it was super slow. But in general, lower income communities tip more than these like real high fancy areas where like they had huge estates, and I just don't understand what. But I guess struggle recognizes struggle, right? It's kind of an interesting perspective, but I don't know. I guess that's how rich people stay rich. I don't know. Again, I don't mind about the tips. It does make a huge impact on my earnings, but I'm not doing this for the tips, or I'll never complain and say like, hey, well, you didn't tip me, because I know what I'm getting myself into. I know it's a possibility of not getting tipped. So I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. It is what it is. I'm here expecting to just get DoorDash pay. And if I get a tip on top of it, great. If not, then it's my fault for accepting the order, right? So the locations, again, when I didn't want to go outside of my area, so around my area, there's a few suburbs that are really high end. I'm not in a suburb that's high end, but when it comes down to like getting orders, usually that's where they were. They would go from the center of the city-ish where I'm at to like the suburbs. And it was kind of a long haul, but it kind of stayed consistent, and I could make a consistent amount of money each time, which I didn't mind. But in general, for me, that's usually where I went. Now, on the weekends, I would go to more towards the center of Pittsburgh. That way there's a lot more activity going, a lot more people ordering food. It would be a bit of a drive, but it still worked out with the whole mileage and cost of the mileage and all that. So it wasn't any problem. But during the week, I usually stay within this area. That way it's easy for me to go and come back to home. I don't want to go driving a lot of mileage otherwise, and kind of defeats the purpose of me making money to pay for my gas every week going and coming to work. And then let's talk about what I drove. So I actually drove a Ford F-150 to do DoorDash, which was kind of crazy when I thought about it the first time, because I get like 21 miles per gallon. But when I did the math and everything, including maintenance, gas, and like just depreciation, it cost me around like 19 cents per mile to drive it. So I usually use that when I do like order acceptance on there. So if I do like more than 5 miles and it's not a minimum of like $1 per se, like just throwing that out there, then I wouldn't accept it. But that's what I drove. So usually it worked out fine. I think I used less than a full tank each time I DoorDashed. Well, especially on those, I'm talking about the weekends, but when I DoorDashed during the week, I used maybe like a quarter of the tank, and I earned $50, and it cost me $25 to fill up that quarter of the tank. So it kind of like profited that $25, right? So I paid off for that gas tank there, and that kind of dictated how I wanted to accept each order. Usually, I wouldn't accept $1 per mile, right? That way I could stay even, and then the tip on top of that was great. So if I saw something that was like $5 for 5 miles, I would be a bit hesitant. I would accept it if it was slow, but if it wasn't, I would just wait to get one of those like 2.5 miles for 7.50, which was kind of rare. But when it happened, it was amazing because it made up for some of the orders that I accepted. And for the first weekend that I did everything, because I wanted to do that challenge, I accepted every single order that I got through. It probably wasn't such a good idea, but ended up paying off at the end, which I kind of felt really rewarding. And I felt like most of the time that I accepted an order, it was kind of like a learning experience for me. I was a little scared. It kind of got me like, it took me a little bit of time to kind of get there. So in general, that's how my DoorDash experience has been. I'm assuming it has been the same for everybody. I don't know if somebody out there is crazy enough to DoorDash on a Ford F-150 with like 20 to like 21 miles per gallon to the gallon. Crazy. I got a couple weird looks from other DoorDashers when I pulled through, but I mean, hey, you got to chase the hustle, right? I mean, it is what it is. So, and it worked out. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. If you have any questions about how to get into DoorDash, or like, does this make sense, and when you're comparing your miles to gallon, let me know. Drop a comment, drop a like, send me a DM, anything you guys like to talk about. Let me know. I'm more than happy to just talk it over. If you guys need some advice, more than happy to talk about that too. So like, subscribe, and come back to the channel if you like this video. Thank you.